Hello and welcome back to another Just Films and That New Release special. I'm Josh Hallam, and this time around I'm going to be reviewing David Fincher's latest film, The Killer. As with the other ones I've done, I will always keep this as spoiler-free as I can, but if you don't want to go into anything, you don't want to know anything, then please make sure you give this a listen after you've seen it. Whilst I've got you, if you could head over to wherever you're listening to this and give us a little rating or review after you've listened to this, it would be massively appreciated. Okay, so if you don't know, the film is the latest film from David Fincher, of Fight Club, Seven and Zodiac fame, amongst others, and it's part of his deal with Netflix to put out a couple of films, this being his second one with them, with the last one being Mank from a couple of years ago. In terms of the plot, it's pretty simple, really. Michael Fassbender is an assassin who's just credited as the killer. He's on a job, and there's a lot of narration telling us his methodical approach to his job and the intricacies and the frustrations and all that sort of stuff, and his general insight into his worldview. Job goes wrong, leads to his employer trying to resolve the issue and taking him out, and the killer then, seeking revenge and targeting all the people involved. Lots of shooty, bang, bang, and methodical killings and stuff like that. So let's get stuck in. So, generally speaking, I thought it was okay. It starts pretty slowly, but it does pick up towards the second half, and there is lots to like in it. Starting with what I liked, it's a David Fincher film, so it looks great. It's exceptionally well made, and it feels sort of as meticulously, it's as meticulously constructed as one of the killer's hits. It is based on a graphic novel, which I wasn't aware of going into it, and I wasn't aware of the novel itself, but it does capture that grim and moody graphic novel feeling, of one of these graphic novels set in the real world rather than a more stylized one of something like your Spider-Mans or Sin City or something like that. The script's pretty good as well, which is it's a bit of a weird thing to say that way if you've seen the film, and you'll know what I mean, because a lot of the scenes are dialogue free apart from the narration, but the scenes with the dialogue between characters are where the film where the film really excels for me, with the exception of one scene which I'll come back to. A particular highlight was one with Tilda Swinton, in whom she only shows up for one scene, but she effortlessly, should I say, steals the scene she's in, as she often does. And the dialogue between her and Fassbender really pops, and most of it comes from her, with her sort of musing on the life that they have chosen and what they do for a living. It's written by Andrew Kevin Walker, who wrote Seven, and I believe this is the second time they've worked together on a feature film. They do work well together, and that the film does have that moody ambiance that Seven has. If I had to compare it to other films, the thing that sort of popped into my head was it's sort of Fight Club meets The Bourne Identity, with a little sprinkling of American Psycho in there as well. By which I mean it's got a biting commentary of capitalism and consumerism, which it uses to create a little bit of comedy, because we've got Michael Fassbender in it, who is great in this, by the way, talking about McDonald's as he's killing people, or using Amazon lockers to buy stuff to kill people with. So gives it that little bit of levity. And I think because of this, I've seen a few people refer to the film as a satire in terms of its genre. Now, I don't think it is. I don't think it's made as a satire, but, I might be wrong. I think that this sarcasm and this highlighting of consumerism is David Fincher's way of injecting a little bit of dark humor into the film by having the killer talk so nonchalantly as he's relieving people of their lives. If it's a satire in terms of its genre, then it's so subtle that I didn't even pick up on it and stuff like that. So, maybe that's just me being thick or whatever. But for me, this is kind of David Fincher's trademark. Although the irony of this film being released on Netflix wasn't lost on me. As well, there's some good use of diegetic and non-diegetic music as well, by which I mean music in the world of the film and music put on top of the film, for sort of people who don't know what I'm talking about. There's a more official, definition of that, but that's what it means. By which, for example, you've got our protagonist listening to music as he does his work through headphones, but then it'll zoom out and that music is accompanying the scene. That's saying something as well for the music as well, for me in this, because, and this is a controversial opinion, so please don't cancel me, but I have never liked the Smiths. I've never been able to get on board with them. As soon as I moved to university, I felt like they would ram down my throat as someone I should like, and I've tried and I've never got on board with them. But this film is very much soundtracked almost exclusively by them. So it's it worked in the film, and the fact that I don't like the Smiths, didn't bias me in the film. just to finish in terms of what I liked, and this is me talking about the scene that I mentioned before that is non-dialogue driven, but this film it's got one of the most visceral and heart-pounding fight scenes I've ever seen, and I don't mean that in terms of, it's got kung fu in it, or it's cool, or balletic, or choreographed, or anything like that. I mean, it's two people who genuinely seem like they're trying to kill the other one, and they fight through this house, knocking 7 bells out of each other in a way that it's directed it's so kinetic, and it feels like you can feel every punch or every time one of the characters hits the other one with an object or smashes a glass in their face, or as they struggle through the furniture and all that sort of stuff. I thought it was that with the Tilda Swinton scene that I've mentioned were the real highlights for me. In terms of what I didn't like, I'll be honest, I thought the whole film was just a little bit dull. I am a fan of David Fincher's films, Love 7 and Fight Club, and I think my favourite's probably Zodiac. But this felt like it was missing a certain something. I don't know if it's because the plot was a little bit more basic, or there was fewer characters, or whatever. I can't quite put my finger on it. One thing I will say that I noticed is it's a fairly male-heavy film. And there's a lot of, gruff men being moody and talking gruff and being moody. And the two scenes where I felt most sort of emotionally engaged or invested were two scenes with female characters, which I think isn't a coincidence. So you've got the scene with Tilda Swinton I mentioned earlier, but also a scene with an actor called Kerry O'Malley, who's in it as a character's PA. And I thought she was really great in the scene she's in. I've not seen her in stuff before. Hopefully she goes on to do other stuff. She sort of plays a character on the periphery of the world the characters inhabit. And I thought she was really great. Whilst, look, Michael Fassbender is very good in it, but I don't think those scenes being the most emotionally engaging I don't think that's a coincidence, and I think I've maybe had my fill of brooding, damaged men being brooding and damaged. Although that being said, that fight scene is the other fight scene I mentioned is very visually engaging as well. But listen, when it comes down to it, it's a very well made film that I think lots of people will like. It's not one that for me will live long in the memory, sorry, but I can very much appreciate how well made it is, and it's certainly got its moments, like I said, with the fight scene, with the Tilda Swinton scene. But listen, as ever, give it a watch, make up your own mind, and let us know your thoughts. Thank you very much for listening, and I'll be back next time. Cheerio!